Good afternoon there, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time to do another article of Chris and his very peculiar Cwcisims, as we are going to discuss Chris's term gal pal, which is a phrase I've literally never used before, but mostly I think it's just because I feel like I would associate with just I don't really want to say in a from a home like a from a from I don't really want to say because I don't really want to cause a wrong opinion, because it's just, why can't I just call them friends who are female, or just friends plural? Why does it matter if they're male or female or not? It just, that sort of thing just doesn't bother me. It's just Chris, because Chris only really has girl pals and not male friends, so what difference would that make anyway? But I digress. My circle of gal pals was the best asset and blessing anyone could ever ask for. He relented in his autism tutorial, which, you know what, I wouldn't doubt Chris. Unfortunately, the legitimacy of their friendship was, well, brought into question years later. A gal pal, or gal pal, is a Cwcism for a female friend. Chris believed he had a lot of these while growing up, but in reality they were little more than acquaintances who let the autistic kid sit at their lunch table. Chris was hesitant about making friends with other males due to his bad experiences with jerks. He said, "In my autism test, it was found that I get along better with women well over men." Right, okay. The unbalanced approach of socialization perhaps contributed to his warped views on gender, and him adopting rather effeminate traits and mannerisms, such as assuming the cowgirl sexual position in the sex tape, or having a collection of My Little Pony action figures, unaware that what might be acceptable for girls might be considered outwardly taboo for guys. Some have suggested that he clung onto female acquaintances as a kind of surrogate mother role to protect him from bullies, which matches up to his desire to be babied by a wife while he plays video games as a stay-at-home dad, because it's easier to count on others to look after him than to take up that responsibility. Chris's gal pals at his 18th birthday party, from left to right: Mystery Girl, Kelly Andes, friend brought along Miranda Joyce Mitchell, Sarah Bevel, and Tiffany Gowan, I believe. Just the difference in that house looks actually clean. It back in the year 2000 is astonishing. Long after his high school days ended, he developed feelings of nostalgia over it and the gal pal acquaintances, to the point where he recreated a high school and several gal pals out of Legos, because Chris has difficulty accepting change and terms with nostalgia. From school years, Chris had several gal pals in his childhood. One, Natasha Turner, was essentially a babysitter paid by Bob to walk Chris to the bus stop. Chris read too much into their acquaintanceship, not realizing at the time that the money Bob handed to give her was for payment, and believed she was a legitimate friend. In Manchester High School, Chris again believed he had many gal pals. However, their friendships with him had all been arranged by Bob, in a misguided attempt to help Chris socialize. I never would do that. I don't know whether from Bob's point of view, Chris was going to have no chance at making friends, but people never, my parents never paid for anybody for me to talk to them, and I made many friends throughout my days at high school. So, but then again, I'm not Chris, and his autism is obviously a lot more severe than mine, so I can see probably why Bob did this, but the consequences of this are numerous, to say the least. Sarah Hammer, Tiffany Robinson. Tiffany Robinson was a gal pal of Chris in the days he lived in Redmond, Virginia. She was Chris's first crush. In Chris's words, "We would hang out now and then during school hours and play. Then in the 4th grade, she dumped me for some other boy. I do not know much of what she has been up to these days. Natasha Turner was a gal pal Chris met at Providence Middle School. They were next-door neighbors for a while, often hanging out at the bus stop near their homes. She was slightly older than him and a good girl for a while. He had a crush on her until he saw her smoking. That was it there for me right there. In 2013, when his illusions over his high school gal pals was finally shattered, it compelled Chris to reevaluate all his past friendships, and at some point he was suddenly struck by the revelation that Natasha, too, had been hired help. He remembered that his father had given him money to give to Natasha, as payment for her friendship and affection. He figured that she had been a sort of babysitter whose task was to protect me and to and back from the bus stop. This recollection was a major shock to Chris. I laid in bed and slept with the shock, stuck in my dreams, reluctant to really open my eyes to awake. It reinforced his suspicion that my friendships might have been a lie. You know, if I woke up one morning and thought that all of my friends from high school were just people that were paid to help, I would have been a little bit conflicted as well, to say the least. I think a lot of people probably might have been. Kelly Andes. Kelly Lynn Andes was a high school classmate of Chris and one of his crushes. She was one of the girls who attended his 18th birthday party. Their relationship meant a lot to Chris, as he kept in contact with her after high school, giving her a mixtape. He called her weekly for around a year before giving up, the reasoning behind which is inconsistent. Kelly severed all ties once she found out about Chris had been up to post-education, blocking him on Facebook after she shared a link to forjrseyesonly.mov. The one, I'm not clicking the video, but those who know would say that just Chris tries to show how he would before cunlings. Tiffany Gowan. Tiffany Gowan was a compassionate friend and a high school classmate of Chris, consoling him after his graduation meltdown. She did the impossible, dancing with Chris during senior prom. A decade after high school, Chris was determined to reunite with Tiffany. His search ended in 2013, when he received emails supposedly from Tiffany, but most likely created by trolls, telling Chris that she was purposely evading him. Sarah Ann Bevel. Sarah Ann Bevel was Chris's classmate at Manchester High. She and Kelly Andes were Chris's lab partners in a chemistry class. She sat with him at lunch and attended his 18th birthday party. She and her boyfriend were the only couple Chris was aware of during high school. It was fun to just watch them flirt with each other. I could have learned from that. But my autism and normal social phobias, the fear that Chris is at all accountable for anything other than himself, held me back then. He was interested in the fact that she broke up with the lucky dude sometime later. In September 2013, as Chris was trying to reconnect his high school gal pals for the sake of the 15th annual reunion, he was baffled that Sarah claimed to no longer know him, despite having been one of his closest friends in October. Trolls hijacked Sarah Bevel's identity and used her to inform Chris that his gal pals had only acted like Chris's friends because we felt sorry for him. This and further correspondence with Sarah caused him to turn against her. Having exposed Chris to uncomfortable truths, she moved onto his enemies list. In November, he wrote a poem expressing his deep emotional pain, caused by the hurtfulest truth of close high school gal pal, hired help, Sarah Bevel, total adult, condescending bit. He even remembered that Sarah had questioned his heterosexuality back in high school, and apparently that's more than enough to just put you on an enemies list. It appears that the real Sarah has discovered Chris's antics since high school, and is not impressed. Nobody would be. On the 19th of December 2013, Kelly Andes shared a link on her Facebook for Chris's JREyesOnly.mov video. Among those who commented on the link was Sarah, with the remark, "Ladies, look what we're missing." Sarah also apparently commented on a screenshot of Chris's Craigslist ad for used porn, posted by Molly Quales, I think that's Quales, with the comment, "Well, that explains a few things." And on the 27th of December, Sarah posted the infamous picture of Chris in his mother's underwear with the comment, "Not only does Christian like to borrow mummy's undies, but he apparently spoons with her as well, just when you think you've heard it all." Molly Collies. Molly Collies was a cheerleader during Chris's freshman year. She shared a few classes with Chris. He remembered her as a happy, giggly kind of gal, and she was fun to be around. Chris recalled being paired up in a dating match-up thing held for Valentine's Day at Manchester High. According to Chris, it was the only matchup I felt was a good matchup at all back then. In October 2013, well, shows you what Chris is like towards gratitude. In October 2013, after the hired help news broke, Chris frantically sent a Facebook message to ask if she was a false friend as well, and was reported by a Facebook user in the process. It appears that, like Kelly Andes and Sarah Bevel, Molly has also discovered Chris's antics since high school. In December 2013, Molly found Chris's Craigslist ad for used porn and posted a screenshot to her Facebook account with a comment, "Ew, I didn't need that mental picture, what a creeper." Despite her disgust, she remained Chris's Facebook friend, which for Chris is the equivalent of the real thing. Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real... without getting into Marvin, start doing Marvin Gaye stuff, let's just move on. Miranda Joyce Mitchell. Miranda, or Maranda, as Chris sometimes spells it, Joyce Mitchell was a pretty girl and a big brain on my circle of friends. Chris met her during his junior year in computer graphics class. They were partners and were required to design company logos for each other. Miranda thereby helped our hero out in his early website days with a redesign of the Quicks Pokesite 2 logo. This made Miranda the very first of his gal pals to be exposed to the glory of solitude. Lucky girl. She attended his 18th birthday party, bringing as a gift a planner with stickers. Since then, Chris has been unable to locate Miranda on Facebook or anywhere else, no doubt to her great relief. The illusion shattered. On the 30th of October 2013, Chris posted on Facebook about a recent discovery that all of his Cheshire gal pals from Manchester High School had only put up with him out of pity for him. "I let Christian hang out with us mainly because we felt sorry for him. He sort of latched onto us, like he expected us to protect him. He was like a lost little boy. Sometimes I think he saw us as sort of mother figures, which seems a little creepy now, but Christian seemed harmless enough back then, and we didn't mind him hanging around with us. As far as socializing goes, we didn't hang out with him outside of school, except for the time we went to his 18th birthday party." An email from one of Chris's friends. At the end of October, Chris, having just discovered the truth, demanded an apology for their kindness. He asked his mother whether or not his friends had been real, and she informed him that in fact they had been arranged by his father. In December, his high school gal pals became aware of the picture of him wearing his mother's underwear, the Mount and Do Me oral sex video, and a recent Craigslist ad, where he put several dozen pornographic DVDs up for sale and posted negative comments about them on Facebook. On the 5th of November 2014, it was revealed on a Quickie Forums thread that the betrayal was fabricated by trolls to get Chris to leave the real gal pals alone. Years later, in February 2017, Chris reminisced about his high school days. In his rose-tinted view of events that had happened nearly 20 years prior, he recalled that he had friends who treated him well, conventionally forgetting that they did so out of pity after Bob and the principal had asked them. He then named several of those people and urged them to either apologize or befriend him again. "The only way I will ever let more recent deeds be forgiven is if all who genuinely want to be friends with me again, at the least to take a few minutes out of their lives to apologize." post high school gal pals. Gal pals from Chris after Chris has graduated high school. Anna McLaren, Megan Schroeder, and the Wallflower. And we all know how all of these went. I'm just going to go into Anna McLaren just for a second because I can't quite remember. Fashion Square. Oh, this is the story of the crazy stalker, okay. Megan Schroeder, Chris violated her through a drawing, and the Wallflower was repulsed and disgusted by Chris's, lecherous attachment to her. Troll gal pals. Fake personas created by trolls to manipulate Chris. Sarah Jackson, Sarah Cassandra McKenzie, Ivy O'Neill, Casey Devoria, Jacqueline Romy, Kim Wilson, and Catherine. Which is basically all of the major gal pals in Chris's life. I'm kind of surprised actually, that Julie wasn't, added either. But then again, that SOB doesn't deserve to get anything. Fan gal pals. Gal pals who befriended Chris as a result of his internet infamy, like Midnight Moonflower. I don't technically know who this is, so other enablers. Claire Garcia. I'm not too sure about this entirely. I'm gonna have to how long ago was this thing made? Other enablers. I might have to look into that later. Because Gallery, gal pals, Lego Sarah Bevel made shortly before the betrayal, Molly Queries, and he even made a Mod Nation Razors version. Jesus. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is actually going to do it for the term gal pal, according to Chris. Basically just female friends that Chris got along with. But then again, I'm confused about why he even called them gal, because Chris has only ever had female... No, correction. Chris has had his father pay for these people to be friends with him. And you have to kind of wonder how much they must have got paid or how much they had to put up with, because it's just, you would have thought, strangely enough, that Chris might have developed enough of a social standing just to sort of maybe try a little bit harder, or because this set in motion Chris's idea that he was perfect enough already and he didn't need to self-improve or anything like that, which we all know how well that turned out. Other things that probably will also be worth mentioning is the fact that for one reason or another, and for reasons I've never fully understood, is that did anybody else have this opinion about Chris? And he thought and ever suggested that the only reason that they hang around Chris in the first place is because, people feel sorry for him. Because save him from bullies. Did Chris ever really get bullied during high school? I mean, there's no doubting that the things he says would turn away anybody, but did he ever have any high school bullies? Because when you think about it, everything seemed really kind of rosy and good for Chris, despite the fact that his scores were so poor and of his graduation. Never really thought about that, because, well, I didn't necessarily get bullied during high school. It's just certain people had certain agendas to not be in school or to make everybody's life just boring and dull as possible. You know what I'm trying to get at. And many of them have actually apologized. Some people have even gotten in touch with. I mean, I'll just give you through one example. I'm not going to disclose any names and all that. 1 second. I mean, you have to understand that one... last time I talked to him was back in 2019. That's quite interesting. Let me just think. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. It's because he said he kind of I think what happened to this guy in question is that I think he came to the revelation that what he was doing was, he made himself look like a bit of an arse more than not. And it's kind of like interesting, for anybody who's ever read A Clockwork Orange will remember like the last part where Alex realized that he needed to grow up, and he realized that he had to do something different with his life. That's kind of a bit like what happened with Chris, but the fact is that Chris never grew up because he never sought any reason to change, because he had everything that he possibly needed around him. A routine, security, friends, no need to worry about money, toys, video games. He had everything he possibly anybody would ever wanted, and he couldn't it's not that he couldn't change, but he could not handle change. Because he did change for the worse. There's no doubt about that. And it just makes you wonder. It makes you really wonder how much all of us have really changed since our days in education. I mean, I understand very much that I'm far from the person I was during my high school days, but I think that's just kind of like life in many ways. You grow up and you change. You're not the same person the day you die as when the day you were born. And Chris just continued using the term gal power. It feels like he just wants to put himself in the past as much as possible. In high school, more specifically. I don't particularly think he wants to return to 12, 13 years ago, if you ask me. But with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this, and I will see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.